actually on for once. That's good. Alright. Let's close that. Okay. Let's get started. This is the Sausage Sports Club Weekly Update. I do this every week. There's a few reasons I do it. I usually talk about that in the intro first. There's the obvious marketing reason of, like, if I don't talk about the game, no one's going to know about it. So I like to do that. Second, I feel like it's useful for students and new indie developers to like see the process of finishing, shipping a game. So I do it for that reason. And then third, which is a more selfish reason, I think it's gonna be cool in 10 years or whatever, once I've made a few games, to look back on my process for this game and see, like, did I improve? Where did I improve? What did I learn from this game that I took forwards and stuff? Or is this my peak and I get way worse at everything later on? So that's why I do this. And the gist is, I tell you what I did last week, how the game is progressing, how I'm feeling about it, any lessons that I learned specifically, if I can eke any of those out. And yeah, and every week we get closer to the end. And yeah. So this week I have a few specific kind of wider topics I want to talk about, since this week was kind of like a mix of a lot of stuff. And those three things are playtesting, making trailers, and triage. So I'll just go into playtesting then. This week I went to the Cards Against Humanity office on the other side of town in Chicago, and went to a board game and video game oriented playtest, and showed the game and had people try it out and got a bunch of feedback. And so one reason I'm really glad I did that is there's a bunch of UX stuff in the game that I thought was getting pretty solid, and there are actually a bunch of, like, pretty minor but still glaring issues, like small, like I can change small things and it will improve the game in a big way, but I still need to fix those things. So some general thoughts on playtesting. Like, I was reminded of doing this. One, obviously this is really important. Bring a notebook and write down everything that anybody says to you about the game, any kind of feedback. And then once the playtest is over, immediately go through that feedback that you wrote down, like everything everybody said. Whether or not when you heard it you thought it was, like, valid feedback or useful feedback or whatever, still write it down. And then at the end, as soon as you can after the playtest, go back through that feedback and make your own personal list of things to do, like things you want to change based on what's on the paper. I'm sure you've heard this before, but when people give you feedback on a game, they don't always say what they mean, or they don't say what the actual problem is. They just say how they feel, or if they're maybe a designer or something, they might say what they think the problem is. But your job as the designer or as the developer or whatever is to kind of read between the lines of what they're saying and determine what's wrong with the game that's making them feel that way. Like something that would happen a lot at PAX early on with the game, after I added the dash, is people would say the controls feel slippery. I feel like I can't do what I mean to do, and I knew that wasn't true. And sometimes when I would watch people, I would see that they weren't dashing at all. They weren't using the, like, hit X and, like, dash through the air or whatever. And I would see, oh, this is a UX problem. I'm not teaching people correctly how to dash in the game, and so they think that all they can do in the game is walk around and swing their head. And that, of course, is going to feel like the controls are slippery, because you can't, like, hit people with your head. You can only swing it, and you can move and jump, but if you're not able to, like, hit anybody really hard, it's going to feel like you can't do anything in the game, and it's going to feel slippery. So I had to, like, hear what they were saying and, like, find my own meaning in it, like, find what actually the problem was. So that's one bit. Also, if you look at your notes from the playtest and see like 5 people have said the same thing, that's probably the thing you should focus on. And that's a pretty big deal. In general, I feel like at playtest, people only point out the biggest, most obvious flaws in your build, and maybe you're looking for feedback on a specific thing, but all that stuff is in the way. In this build, I showed the icons of buttons to like tell you how to jump, how to dash, how to like move through the character select menu. The buttons weren't like exactly clear, like they didn't match the controllers people were using, and so everybody got really like mucked up on that and couldn't figure out how to like start playing until I would come over and like show them on their controller what they were supposed to do. And that sounds like it's so obvious in retrospect that I should have like nailed that down and got that right, but I, for whatever reason, like I was too close to the game, I didn't think about it, so that's not what I was focusing on. And it ended up being like a really big problem. Every time somebody would come up and play the game, I would have to like handhold with them, and they still would be like, that would throw off their whole experience, or they were like confused and muddled before they even got into the game and like had a chance to play around. So point is, playtesters are going to point out the most obvious things, and then everything else besides that will be secondary, and you probably won't get feedback that you're looking for. Another point I want to make is when people give you feedback, they're going to be really nice. They're going to just say, oh, I like the colors, it's a nice looking game, or like, oh, I had fun, like, good job, keep it up. Until, and this isn't true for everybody, like if somebody's really close to you and they know how you feel about the game, or if you have a really honest friend who wants to like help you, even if it's going to hurt your feelings, then maybe they'll do this by default. But most people, especially strangers, are going to just be nice to your face and not want to say anything mean. So you have to, what I found is prefacing with, please hurt my feelings, I want you to like tell me the feedback that's going to like make me sad, or like I don't want you to hold back. You gotta say that stuff up front so that they will actually say to you things that might hurt your feelings, or you know, I mean, it's not like nobody wants to hurt your feelings, but they do want your game to get better, and if you tell them that that's what you want, even if it's gonna like hurt your pride or whatever, then they'll help you more. So I've started leading my, usually what I do is I let somebody give me whatever light feedback they have up front, and if it's more critical, then I'm like super happy, and then I immediately am like, please, I see that you like have given me real feedback already, now give me the like real hard stuff. But anyway, that's and there's one more thing about playtests I want to mention. Consider, and this is something I just realized in this last playtest, but consider what parts of your game aren't getting feedback, and then specifically seek that out. I don't know if you can hear these like screaming children in the hallway, but I hope that's not too annoying. What was I saying? Yeah, consider what parts of your game get the least feedback, and then specifically seek out people who are knowledgeable in that subject and ask them for advice. For me, with Sausage, it's art feedback that I don't get that much of, specifically like color palette and overall cohesiveness of the art style. I get a little bit of that, but the office I work in is mostly programmers and like game designer people, not... There's only a couple artists here, and I do get that feedback from them sometimes, but they kind of are very close to the game relative to like new random people. So at this playtest I went to, there were a couple people there who are visual artists and aren't super familiar with the game, haven't seen it very much, and they gave me some art feedback that I just am not used to getting, and it was really cool. And I realized suddenly in that moment, oh, I'm not really like seeking out art feedback from artists. I'm just like, I'm getting a lot of programmery, game designery, people to play it and give me feedback. So that's something I need to do more of towards launch. So those are kind of all the thoughts on playtesting I had on Friday that I wanted to share. To recap, bring a notebook, write down everything that's said, and then go over all of it and like filter it through yourself. You have to like determine what the problems are from what people are saying. Ask for constructive criticism, even if it might hurt your feelings, and be explicit. Like, please, I want you to tell me things. I don't want you to hold back. So you get real feedback. Consider what parts of your game don't get feedback and ask for that, and then. Whatever the most obvious problem in your build is, that's what everyone's going to talk about. So if you have this opportunity before your playtest, like try to take an objective look at your game and determine, okay, what are the obvious problems with this that people are going to comment on? Can I do anything to like resolve those issues before I go to this playtest? For me, it would have been to make the control icons that show like what buttons you need to hit on your controller. I would have made those more clear and like ensured those were correct. So that's playtesting. Next up is trailers. I've been making a trailer for Sausage Sports Club this last week, and I will be for the next couple days. And every time I do this, my process gets better. I shouldn't say every time I do this, because I've only done it once for real before, and then the rest of the times before that were just like presentation videos to show off the game in school or whatever. But so when I make real trailers for the game, I learn a lot by doing it, and I refine my process a lot and have to like think hard about what I'm doing and like the tools I'm using and everything. So it's been an interesting process. This time, I had been planning this trailer for a long time. Like, I knew I was going to need to do one as I got close to launch and when I wanted to like announce the game on consoles or whatever. And so I had known in the back of my head that I was going to need to do this, but I didn't like plan it out specifically until very recently when I got like a hard deadline from basically like PAX West. I'm showing the game in some cool format there, and I got this deadline where I have to have the trailer done very soon. And I basically only had like a week to do the whole thing, and so immediately I was like, okay, I've been thinking about this for a while. I know I want to have a professional like trailer maker help me do this. What can I do now that I have like it was 2 weeks at the time? What can I do? Is it feasible at all to get somebody to come in and make this trailer? And I thought about what the trailer needed to show. I thought about what I had in the game to help record gameplay footage, and there just wasn't much. Like, if I were to hand this off to some trailer maker and say, I want you to make this trailer, this is the idea I have in my head, here's the game, here's the very limited tool set of how you can capture gameplay, the trailer was just going to suck, and I was going to need to, like, every step of the way help them, like, build them tools to help them get the shot they wanted, and I was just going to need to be super involved in every shot I felt to get it to work, and I was like, I felt like I needed to have this storyboard in my head of like what the trailer was going to need to be. So I was just going to be doing a lot of the work anyway, except for editing. Like, they would be doing the editing, but then I would be wanting to give them feedback and have iteration time. And in this 2 week cycle, it's just like, how is that going to be possible at all? So the takeaway I got from this is that in the process of making a game, communication with other people is often the most expensive part. Like, expensive meaning the time cost, like time on a calendar. With this trailer, it's like I need time to talk to this person, like whoever's going to make this trailer. I need time to talk to them about the game, what it is, what I'm thinking about for the trailer. I need time for them to come back and say, okay, here's, like, I've looked at the game, I've played the game, I'm cool with making this. We need to negotiate like the rate and how long it's going to take and how many iterations I get, and all this stuff. And then they'll come back and say, okay, I've played the game, I don't have the tools I need, here's what I need, get this to me as soon as you can. And then there's time, and then I need to like figure out what they really need and like how much how to like make it usable by them in the game, and then I need to go make it and give it back and teach them how to use it. And then if they have problems or they can't get it right, then I need to like iterate on it again and stuff. So there's a lot of that back and forth. Not even to mention editing and giving feedback on that and stuff. And I've found this to be true not even just for trailers, but like any part of the game, whether it's making music or if I paid somebody to make the kind of promo art for the game early on, and I'll need to do that again. But that the negotiation, the like making a contract, getting feedback on the contract, going back to them, telling them what I want them to do for their work, and then trying to like get it really solid between us, like get it from my brain, like not fully formed, into their brain, and then have them make a thing that I like, is really hard. And that's the same on a team. Like everybody needs to be on the same page about what they're making, and it's super expensive and takes mental energy from everybody that could be used for working on the thing. And I think this communication issue isn't exclusive to games. I think it's probably true in every creative medium where multiple people work on a thing. So point is, like, it's super expensive to communicate ideas and like go back and forth on things, and the bigger the group working on something, whether it's a game or a trailer or whatever, the more like time and effort and thought is required to communicate ideas between everybody. That's why at big studios there's like entire teams of producers, and for every like 10 people there's like one person just managing everybody and managing up and down and sideways between other producers and stuff. So that's super expensive. So like I said, working on trailers, moving on from communication. Like I said, I'm pretty new to making trailers, and my process is changing a little bit every time. But now, currently, what my process is with a trailer, I know going in, I know this is going to be the trailer for this goal. For me, it's like the announced trailer on a bigger stage than what I did with the Kickstarter. More people are going to hear about this trailer and see this trailer. So that's kind of the lens I view it through. I know with any trailer you want to show the hooks of your game, like what is, when people see it, what are they going to immediately like latch onto, and you want to show them that as fast as possible with a trailer, the hooks. And so I knew what those were going to be going into the game, because I know that about the game. It's the cute floppy animals, it's the variants of like gameplay through the different arenas and the different modes. It's lots of character customization through the hats and skins and stuff. It's that the game can be played up to 8 players. That's uncommon in local multiplayer games. And then the last thing is the adventure mode, which I'm not going to do in this trailer because it's just not ready. And I'll come back to that in a bit. So I know those are my hooks. That's what I take into the brainstorming of the trailer. Like, okay, I know my biggest hook is like the cute floppy animals. So how can I turn that into like a cool moment in this trailer? And so I do that with all the hooks, and I make a big list of ideas of like, for each hook, what can I show for each one of those, and I just come up with 1 or 2 ideas or 3 ideas for each of those, and then once I have all of that, I think, okay, now I've thought of how I can best show all of these aspects of the game. Now let's like put that into a format of like a whole thing. And usually what you do for a trailer is a storyboard, and that's for real trailers or real shows. That's like like a little picture of like each shot and the transition and everything there. Oh, I'm just seeing people here in chat. Yeah, Synthoid, definitely. Watching other people play is tough. It gets I feel like it gets better the closer you are to the finish of the game, because for one thing, the game's getting better, and and you recognize that, and you can think about your progress before. You can think about, oh, at the last playtest, everybody had problems with this thing, but now it's totally fixed. Or people have been saying there's not that much complexity or depth, or there's not enough mechanics, and now there are, and now I don't have to worry about that anymore, you know. Welcome, Brib Robot. Anyway, I'm gonna focus on my like notes for now, and I'll come back to chat once I'm done. So back to my process. Talked about hooks, talked about brainstorming with hooks, and then storyboard. So for movies and you know, production quality trailers of games or whatever, a storyboard is like a bunch of pictures, and you show the transition between shots, and you write little notes about what each shot's going to be. For me, because I made the decision early on that I'm just going to do this myself, I'm going to make the whole trailer myself, I don't need to necessarily like have visual storyboard to communicate like what the shots are all going to look like. It's just kind of all in my head, and I mostly just write like, here's the list of shots I want, and I know I have written down like what is the order of the trailer going to be, what do I want for that. And so my storyboard's not a bunch of pictures with notes next to them and arrows to like what the order is and stuff. It's just like, it's a text list of here are the shots I want, one after another, and so then once I have that like fake storyboard, I do footage capture, which for this was an involved process because, like I said, I don't really have tools in the game to like capture weird shots, or like fake camera dollies in the game where there's like a pan and you like, you know, I don't have any of that stuff. I just have to manually set it up in the game, which I'll show you in a second once I go over my process here. Since this is like a live weekly update, I'm not done with this trailer yet. I'm still editing, or I'm about to start editing now that I have all my footage. So I'll start editing. Inevitably, once I start editing, I'll realize, oh, I don't have enough footage, and then I'll have to capture more. So I'll do that, and then I'll go back to editing. And this trailer I'm making is going to be pretty synced up to music, so I'm going to have to like work with Tom, my music guy, to like, I'll get the draft from him, and then I'll cut the trailer to that draft, and then I'll send the draft to him, and he can say, oh, here's the changes I want to make, or here's the final version of the music, and then I'll put that in, and I'll probably have to edit a little bit to match the new version. Then once I have that draft, I'll send that to my close friends in Chicago, like people in the game scene, get feedback on that, and then repeat. Like, you just rinse and repeat until the deadline comes up, which for me isn't going to be very many iterations at all. Maybe one, maybe zero. We'll see. So that's my process. It's not that interesting. I think the most interesting part, which I'll show you now, is that my in-game tools suck, and I need to like manually script everything, so you can hop over to Unity to see that. So right now for the overworld, I'm working on, this will be like the last shot with stuff in it in the trailer, and then right after that there will be like the game logo, just show for the first time what the game's called, and then like it'll say Luckshot Games for the studio, and then there'll be like legal shit, copyright and all that jazz. So I'll hit play. This is the shot I've been working on for the last little bit, the last like half hour or whatever before the stream. So it'll start zoomed out, it'll kind of zoom over, and then it'll like go through these hats, and there will be music playing on top of this, synced up. There will be like a drum beat that's synced to the hat switching, and then we get to the last one, and then Scout will run off screen like this, and around here it'll like, I'll pause the shot, and then the logo will like pop up on top of where Scout was. So it's not quite finished yet, but that's the idea of the shot. Kind of start zoomed out and go in and kind of like rotate a little bit to get a little bit of dynamics, and Scout's like wiggling and his hat's changing every half second. So how does that work? how does this bad tech that I've made work? I have in my scene, I have just like a dummy game object with a script on it, and this is totally like not a complex system. It's just I've built a layer of crap on top of all the other good systems in my game, and I just like the note I have in my document here is I Frankenstein players and actors to do what I want for the shot, and that's totally what it is. So let's open this and look. So this is all it is. It's like 70 lines of code or whatever, and then in the scene I have two camera zones. That's this big red box. And I've talked about this before on stream, but I have this box is like camera settings, and when you walk in, when the camera's focus is inside this box, then it takes on these settings that are on the right here, and that's used all over the overworld. All these settings are different. I'm not going to get into that, but so I set up the shot. This green ball is what the focus point is for the preview on the right, so I'll like move it to where my shot's going to be, then I'll look at this preview and I can change it. I'm not going to change it because I set up this shot all nice already, but so for each shot I can set up a zone, and then in code I say when we start the shot, like turn on this camera zone, which is the out zone. So we start here with this preview in the bottom right over here, and then over time we like transition, we move the camera forwards and down and kind of like zoom and stuff. Then we get to that, and so those are the two defined zones. And in code, what does that look like? So first I turn off all of the other camera settings in the world, since it's all like, I don't want to like destroy the overworld just for the shot. So we turn on the out zone, which is the zoomed out view. We snap the camera to that spot. We wait a little bit for the scene to get set up. We take the spawned player, which is just a bot, and like put them on the player pose, which is just a dummy game object that I've like placed in the scene where I want the dude to be. This pink scout here isn't actually like the one that we're seeing in the game. In my scene, I keep what I call a workbench. This is based on a workflow that I stole from Battle Chef Brigade, where there's like a dummy game object in the game that just gets destroyed when the game starts, and it's got like a preview scout, so I could just do blocking, but when the scene starts, that won't be there. It'll spawn scout in somewhere, and then my trailer script will just like pop him into place at this dummy object. So that's what that is. Let's go back to the code. Yes, we pop him in place. We say out zone, I want you to focus on Scout's head, so that when Scout like wobbles a little bit, the camera will also wobble a little bit to match that. So high level view, what this shot is doing is like snap the view out here, and then immediately start like zooming in and moving the camera down. So that's what's going on. At the start of this shot, we wait a couple seconds before like shifting between the hats. That's what that is. So it's nothing that complex, and it's like when you look at it, it's like pretty easy to set up a shot for me. But imagine some random person who makes trailers, even if they're really familiar with games, or even if they're a programmer or whatever, they would have to, if they wanted to come in and make a shot, they would have to download the game, download Unity, the right version of course, open the game, find the scene they want the shot in, make this dummy object, make this script. Somehow they would have to learn all of the systems in the game to know, like, I'm going to use the camera manager, I'm going to set up these camera zones, and this is all custom stuff. It's not like none of this is built into Unity, these zones and the camera manager like snapping to the target and this hat stuff. So it would just be really hard for them to do, like for a random person to come in and do this stuff. Which isn't to say the game inherently is really hard to make tools for trailers for. It's just that I haven't done that, and I literally just don't have time to spend on it, so that's why I need to do this trailer myself. Let's look at another one really quick. This is the junkyard. Let's see. I'm not sure if this shot's gonna work, but we can try it. So this one is paintball. So the idea of this shot is that the camera will start, we'll see if it works. The idea of this shot is that the camera will start zoomed in on one of the bots that's like running around eating garbage. If you've seen the game before, they run around and eat garbage, and they get bigger every time they do that, and then they explode. So this one will start zoomed in on a bot. They'll run over to some garbage, and then there's some setup I would have to do to make this work, but once they eat the garbage, they will blow up. They would blow up, and then we would switch to the other zone, which is more zoomed out, and it just shows like gameplay of paint mode. I guess I'll try it. It probably won't work, and then I'll just move on to my next thing. Oh, interesting. I think I turned off all the trash robots. Dynamics. Trash bots. Bam. Let's try one more time. Okay, cool. So did the thing, it got bigger. Yeah, if I did the rest of the setup, I'll do it just because it's really quick. It's just changing one number. No? Okay. I'm not gonna go any further than that. So if I were to look into this, you'd see a very similar kind of script. Yeah, we set up the right zone. We set any bots who aren't our bot just inactive. Then we tell the bot to go eat garbage, and we tell him which garbage to eat. And then we set all of our bots inactive. And the reason I wanted this is because the shot that's set up here is the bot runs over, eats garbage, grows into his biggest form and blows up, which is the behavior that he has in the game. And then all of the bots that are spawned off screen in the scene like turn on, and they just start playing paintball, and the camera zooms out and shows them playing paintball. It's a cool shot. Yeah. I'm gonna drink some water here. Okay. Something else I want to talk about, and I'm sure everybody has this whenever they make trailers, is I've got this like internal tension of I really want to showcase the final game as it will be when it's done, and show all the hooks that game has, because people like this trailer that I show may be the trailer that gets the most views, even more than my launch trailer. It's just like gonna be I'm lucky to be showcasing it in a cool way, so I want to show everything that the game will be. But, and here's the tension, the game's not done, and there's stuff that I can't film because it doesn't exist. Like the overworld, some parts are like close to done. Like I spent a few days this week polishing up the hub here so that the hat shop like actually has models, and the hat cart is here, which the player can walk up to and switch their hat at. And the gym has like an actual model now and color, and and I switched the ground to have like nice looking tile and this little rim, and I modeled out the benches and stuff. The forest is or the jungle has been almost done for a while. I added some more finished-looking rocks to the beach, but of course this area is not done yet either. And the desert's just like not even started yet, and the other area is not even started yet. So there's this tension of like, I wish I could show the game as it will be because it's going to be really cool, and I'm really excited about it, but it's not done yet, so I can't. I'm not doing the like E3 thing of lying about. I'm not gonna like build a scene just to show like a fake thing that isn't gonna be in the game. And yet I want to show the game as it will be. So to resolve that tension, I spent some time polishing this area so that I can show like there's more than just the arenas, which is what the majority of the trailer is. It's just like the game being played in the arenas. I polished up this scene to show in that shot that I showed you earlier. It's like this is the start view, and then you zoom in to Scout, and he's swapping hats, and then Scout runs off screen into this jungle, and it's like from this view we see the gym, we see the hat shop. Clearly that's like something's going on there where I can get hats or switch hats, and the gym is like some kind of sports related building maybe, but there's this big open area. You see a jungle, you see like there's like the beach-ish looking thing over there, and then at the end of the trailer Scout runs off into the jungle, and that's like clearly there's more going on here than like the sports, because there's not a sports match happening. In this shot I'm like my character's like changing their hat and they're running off to the jungle. So I'm hoping, even though I can't show the final game, like it'll be clear like in the arenas there's like sports happening, people are playing the game, and then here there's like something else, there's more to see here than that. So that's kind of how, and also to resolve that tension, I'm saying this is the gameplay reveal trailer that I'm showing like here's what the game is. I'm announcing it to most people who see the trailer will not have seen it before, I think. And then the launch trailer is going to be more of a adventure mode showcase instead of just the gameplay stuff that this one has. So this topic of like internal tension of like wanting to show the finished version and needing to compromise and like give a half solution kind of feeds nicely into my next big point, which is triage. And the idea of triage is when you have a bunch of work to do, a seemingly limitless amount of work to do, and your list could get longer forever if you wanted. Triage lets you prioritize the items on that list until the top is like the very most important thing, and everything beneath that is like decreasingly important. And this idea is really useful because it shows you what you need to focus on, what's most important. And this isn't just a games thing. This is, I think, if you Google it, which I did today because I'm still pretty new to this word. I've always just said like prioritizing and doing priority lists and stuff like that. But I'm getting used to this word now. I think the real definition is like in a medicine setting, or like a hospital, or like a battlefield or something, like a battlefield medic. They triage people's injuries so that they like deal with the most important or most likely to be savable. Like they deal with the most severe injuries that are likely to be fixed first, and that's kind of what it is for games. So in making builds for playtests and shows, in making trailers or doing a Kickstarter, or in shipping the game, which is what I'm trying to do right now, both of those, making a trailer and shipping the game, you never have time to make everything perfect, and you need to always focus on the things that are most important, or the game won't get done, or the trailer won't get done. And this triage thing is cool because some of the things that you think are cool, like you think maybe when you have the idea you think it's so cool that it needs to be in the game, but every time you're doing a triage it always ends up at the bottom of the list. if that happens if you do a triage every week, and for 6 months or for a year or for until after you ship the game, the same stuff ends up at the bottom of your list, maybe it's actually not important or not that good of an idea. You know, I'll look at my Trello board and see if there's anything like that on my list that I'm just like, that's never gonna happen. I wish I knew how to see the archive. Archived items. Let's see. Ugh. Oh man, this list sucks because I archive everything on my Trello board. Like when I'm done with something, I archive it. Or if I'm like, I'm not gonna do that, I archive it. Let's look a little bit more. I'm just trying to find something that I had on my list for a while and then I took it off because it wasn't that cool. Oh, okay, here's a thing that was on my backlog for like 6 months. Add generic notification API for things like +1 points. So in a lot of the modes, you get like 1 point per thing you do. Like if you score a goal in soccer, you get a point, or if you capture a flag, you get a point. And I thought, oh, it would be cool if I just like made some simple way in code to like pop out a +1 notification type thing. And it just was on the bottom of my list for like 6 months. Eventually I was like, you know what, I probably just don't need that. People are going to know that they get a point when they score a goal in soccer. It's just obvious. So it was just never a high priority thing. So yeah, getting back into it. Some things always end up at the bottom of your list, so you just skip it. Something I tend to do when I'm like, maybe I've been crunching for a week or something, or 2 weeks, and I really am like feeling not great about the game, or like I want to stop working on the game for a little bit, like take a break. I'll pick something that's not like a super high priority, but is like fun to do, and I'll just do it. I think last week or maybe the week before, I talked about emotes in the game as like, during dialogue, you can like specify during this piece of dialogue, like a heart's gonna pop out and like a nice sound is gonna play. That had been on my priority list for like, I don't know, a couple months, and I thought I wasn't gonna get to it, and then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna screw everything I'm working on right now. I'm just gonna do this, and it's gonna make me feel good and happy for a day. And so if you need a morale boost, just like go for low-hanging fruit, even if they're low priority. Just like a little touch that you feel like the game deserves, or like would make the game really, really fun in a new way. So that's cool. And I learned this process from watching GDC talks. I think there's probably a couple of places I learned it from, but the one I remember is from a GDC talk. For the first really long time of making the game, like the first 16 months, I had only been doing this process leading up to a build for like a playtest or a convention or something, and I didn't think about it. I was just like, here's a list of everything I need to do, and I'm just gonna like pick the one that's most important, or like the one that will make the build look the worst if it goes on the show floor like this, or if I go to a playtest like this, like what are the things that people are gonna immediately get stuck on and then not stop talking about. And then I remember it being a Firewatch talk where they were talking about how they tried to make like a vertical slice of Firewatch, like a little chunk, and play it, and they couldn't tell if the game was good or not because it was like too small of a chunk, and they couldn't like navigate a big environment. Or sorry, they were doing it the other way. They were trying to do like the entire map gray boxed, and because they were like walking through They were walking through a section that was just like gray boxes, and like there were no trees, there was no environment. It was just like walking through a gray environment, talking to a walkie-talkie. They just couldn't tell if it was good. I guess this is kind of a weird example now that I'm remembering it was backwards. Anyway, I saw some GDC talk and was inspired to, instead of trying to like polish up little chunks at a time or like do whatever I thought would be cool that day, I need to have a higher level view of my entire project and then focus on the things that are going to get it closest to being done or are going to make it so I understand like what's good and bad about the game. So for right now, it's finishing the overworld, finishing the adventure mode structure, and like making it playable for like a half an hour or an hour. And then there's a bunch of things that are less important than that. And sometimes there will be like an event like PAX coming up, or you'll get invited by somebody to do some event, and then you'll have to say, okay, I know adventure mode was the highest priority thing, but now I have this opportunity, and I'm going to move up making a trailer to the top of that as my most important thing, and those things will shift around. Like before I got this opportunity, I kept pushing back this trailer on my to-do list. Like I think it's moved back 2 whole months from when I first put it up, just because through triage, it was not high priority because I didn't have any like cool opportunities like the one I have now. And when you keep seeing me look up, like up above my monitor, that's me looking at a corkboard above my desk that has like the whole rest of the project planned out in triage format. I haven't prioritized. So I have a column for each month, and it's been a little bit since I prioritize each month, but that's always how I do it. Okay, I'm gonna try and wrap up, I think. I don't have any like nice tidy way to tie up all these ideas. But I guess I haven't focused a ton on the game during this. I've just kind of been talking about ideas. So I'll say during this week, I've mostly spent time like finding a workflow for making those shots in the trailers that was like easy and didn't break the game, and I wouldn't have to go like read them all out at the end. And that involved just like adding a component to the scene that would. I did my best to make these components not affect the rest of the scene or affect the rest of the game. It just kind of like, it's like a little bomb I drop in the scene that just like sets up the shot from there. I tried to not change any code of the systems or of the game modes or anything. So that was a big thing. I also just like kind of like plopped out a bunch of content of like making a bunch of these shot things. So that involved recording a bunch of gameplay and doing a bunch of modeling to make these scenes and stuff, or this specific scene. I actually want to show you what this process was like a little bit. So what I'm going to do for that is I want to jump back in time to before I did this. Overworld. Yeah, I'm gonna jump back in source tree so you can see what this looks like before, just to see like how much it's changed. I'm gonna take a quick screenshot. Okay. Or wait, do I have to commit a bunch of stuff? Yeah, give me 1 second. Trailer, overworld shot. Well, if anybody's got questions, I think now would be a good time to like queue those up. Because I'm basically just going to show you what this looked like before, and then show you some textures in Photoshop, and then I'll be done. Okay, let's jump back. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if anything weird is going to show up in this list. I don't want to spoil what I'm working on, so I'm just going to disable the monitor for a little bit as that loads. Yeah, but this week was kind of interesting because I wasn't really working on the game explicitly, but it still feels like I got a lot done. Just like trailer stuff. It's kind of weird. Every time I've worked on a trailer, I've had to be like, oh, I know this isn't done yet, but I want to. There's specific aspects of the game I want to show off, so I'm gonna have to like get that stuff more done. And for this, it was the overworld hub, just improving that stuff. Still waiting on this Unity bar. Reload. Oh wow, that looks rough. Okay. So I'm gonna pop open the monitor again. I just reloaded the scene. You can see got this shitty looking overworld again. So what changed? Let me pop out these screenshots that I just took. That one. Boom. That one. Boom. So, okay, so you can see, I'll switch these just so it's westernized, before and after. So on the left, the statue is like not finished, the hat shop's not finished, the gym's not finished, all the benches aren't finished, the ground's not finished. You can see over in the background, I guess I'll use my mouse. This rock wall, just like what used to be like a big shitty blob, and this one over here still is. But so I basically just like made these showable, made this section of the overworld showable, like this specific view, you know, for the trailer. And like I said, just to show that there's more than meets the eye. Or more than just like local multiplayer, simple arena battle game. Battle's not the right word, but yeah. So it's looking a lot better. I might have to like saturate a little bit. At that playtest I mentioned, I got a suggestion to try out color grading again in the overworld. I did at one point try color grading, but I haven't in a while. So. And let's pop back to the future. Ready to move. Okay. And I'm gonna disable the monitor again real quick. So I did that. And I can show you in Photoshop like super fun. A lot of the time is just like building these hero assets for the overworld section. You can see in this old one, they're just like, I just blocked them in where I knew they were gonna be. These locations. The statue is just like, to mark the location is like, this is Sausage Sports Club, this place. This is a monument to like the club. The hat building is like where you would go to redeem your loot boxes, basically. This game's version of a loot box where you get a random hat. The gym is kind of the tutorial place where if somebody new is going to start, you want to like take them there and the game will quickly run them through the ringer, which doesn't exist yet except for the building. And then the purple building on the right is you're not seeing it. Yeah, so the building on the left is the gym. There I mentioned the tutorial building. The hat shop is where you go to buy stuff. Or not buy stuff, sorry. Where you go to use your loot boxes, which you get by playing the game to unlock more hats. And then the purple building with the book on it is going to be the like Unlockopedia, which if you go in there, what I'm thinking, this might change, there will be like pedestals with little books on them. And if you walk up to the book, yeah, cool. Yeah, if you walk up to the book, it'll show you like, I think of Spelunky where they have like the the journal of all the, or the encyclopedia of all the enemies and stuff. It'll be something like that where it shows you like, here are all the hats you can unlock, and there will be question marks as the icons for ones you haven't unlocked. And same with skins and characters and maybe arenas and maybe game modes. I'm still trying to figure out whether those will be locked or not. I'm definitely gonna lock the arenas, but I'm not sure about the game modes yet. That idea came up at the playtest this Friday, where somebody brought up the idea that soccer was like the easiest mode to start with and learn, and then the rest were like more complicated, kind of weird. And so I had the thought, oh, if I start somebody with soccer, like they can just practice what the physics are and how the game works on the ball instead of like being forced to like fight each other. So I like that idea a lot. So that's what's going to be in that building. So just look at the Photoshop stuff. So this is the hat shop. I'm not gonna get to. I will show one example of doing ambient occlusion just because I remembered how cool that was this week. So this is the hat shop. See the textures there. That like nice fancy decorations on the inside that you saw in the texture. Monument. So this is just like ambient occlusion, and then I got a tiling marble texture off the web. That's what this is. And also just like tinted gray. The gym. I start with ambient occlusion as the base of all my textures because for a few reasons. Like, the big one is that it is a guide of like where you want to paint. If I see this, I know like, I know this section is like where the text part is. If I see this, I know that's the door, as opposed to just like starting with a raw blank texture. That makes it a lot harder. This is the hat cart. This texture looks pretty cool, even though the model itself isn't that complicated. Whoops. This is hats on it. Wow. So this is a combo of like, in my neighborhood, there's guys that like ride around like an ice cream cart / bike, which basically is like this thing, but there's the back half of a bike on the back of it. I thought those were super cool, and it would make sense as like to have like a portable way to change your hat in each arena. That's kind of the idea of this. When the way in this game where you select the mode you want to play is in the arena in like, let me move that back. I'll copy it. In the junkyard. So yeah, you see these trophies. These are the way you select which mode you're gonna play. You load into the level and it's like empty except for these trophies. There's still gonna be like, I'll just show you actually. Mode select. Scout. Sombrero. Yeah, so you spawn in, there are the trophies for the mode select, but then you're kind of like, if I were to get there, let's say, and then I want to change my hat from the overworld, I would have to mute that audio. Oh, this is the unlock shot. Yeah, if I were to get there and then want to change my hat, the only way to do that would be to go back to the overworld, and then from wherever your arena is, walk all the way back over to the hat shop in the hub, and then that's like where you do it. What the heck? I might have broken the game. Okay, Yeah, I broke the game, but you can see anyway. Like, it's the same level, but there's the trophies. And if I were to get here and I'm like, oh, I don't want to wear the sombrero, I want to wear the chef hat, whatever, I would have to go back out to the overworld, walk from, for the desert, it would be like, I'd have to walk from over here all the way back to the hat shop, and then go into the hat shop, and then change my hat, and that sucks. So this hat cart is going to be a portable way to just change your hat. You do it outside the hat shop here, or there will be one of those in the mode select, probably, in each of the arenas. Let's see if I can hat select. That's not what I want. Burn. Just gonna see if I can pull this up in the game. It's possible that I totally just broke it right now. Allow multiple uses, yes. Did I break it? Did I break it? Did I break it? I totally broke it. I think I can do it with a bot. I think I can spawn a bot in and then just take over the bot. Yeah. Oh my. That's not a trigger. That's a collider. Trigger. Let's do player sensor. No. Looks like it's not ready yet. Anyway, there's a cool UI that comes up that shows the different hats you can wear, and then you select them. I think that's everything I wanted to show this week. Look at my list. Yep, that's everything. So if there are any questions, I can answer those. Otherwise, I'm gonna I think today, since I have to edit this trailer, I'm gonna just like not continue the stream and work. I'm just gonna focus on that. But if anyone's got questions in the next minute or two, I will answer them. Hang out. Thank you, Synthoid. Oh. I hope in the next month or so to really be able to show off adventure mode, and like I can do a playthrough of it so that it makes more sense. And I would love to get this desert in and get the other arena going. That one's gonna take a while, I think. The new arena here that doesn't exist yet at all, except in my head, is going to be Tiny Tokyo, which is like a big kind of sprawling city, and the players are the same characters obviously, but they're going to be like kaiju size relative to the buildings in that city, and you'll be able to like smack the buildings with your head, and like debris will fly off and like puffs of smoke or whatever, and the buildings will fall over, and it will be pretty sweet. And so there will be a little bit of like changing the environment through playing, you know, and hopefully like dynamic cars driving around, and yeah, it'll be cool. And the like, I guess the gimmick or whatever of that, besides, Yeah, it's inspired by Psychonauts. I don't remember that level in Gex. It's inspired by Psychonauts. It's also inspired by like Godzilla. Like Godzilla's cool. The animals are kind of like big dopey things in the same way that Godzilla is. So yeah, it'll be cool. I'm a little nervous for it because I don't I don't know how to make like destructible, good-looking stuff yet, and my target platform has some low-ass specs. So yeah, it's just like a man in a giant rubber suit. I don't know that when Godzilla came out originally, people were laughing because it was so silly looking, but now it's very silly looking, and so I think it will evoke feelings of like how silly Godzilla is, and I intend for it to be like a tribute to that kind of like goofy kaiju monster thing. And it's although the level itself I don't think is going to look like a movie set, the area, the biome that it takes place in the same way that the Bug Museum is in the jungle and the aquarium is in the like sea area. This is going to be like a Hollywood type area with like different movie sets is the idea. So I think that'll come through, hopefully. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to talk about before I get off. Let me look at my version control, see what else I did this week. Oh yeah, I'll do the thing. I'll do the Maya thing. Yeah, I'm going to show ambient occlusion in Maya just because it's like, the setup is a bit annoying, but once you know how to do it, it's like very satisfying to make like a model and then bake it. It just looks a million times better, and then the texture's like a good chunk done for you already. Oh man, sorry about those screaming babies. Let's see, what can I make really quick? Instead of making a thing really quick, I will just steal a model from my own project. Props. Sausage. This will be silly. So I'm just gonna... Is this UV'd? Probably isn't UV'd. Okay, can't use that. Let me grab a different one. Fuck. I just clicked. I misclicked. Art. Thing looks kind of bad. Okay, so I've got this gong. This is gonna be an instrument that you can find in the world, and you'll like hit it with your face, whatever. I'm gonna do some ambient occlusion on it. First, I'm gonna add some edge loops. looks cool. I actually use this in the game. It looks good. What? Why does that do that? That's weird. Oh man, you know what? Is this thing edge looped? Or is this thing UV'd? Because I don't want to do that on stream because it's boring. I'm just going to take a model that I've already done it on. Cart. Boom. Okay. Let's disable the hats. Tires aren't part of it. Okay, so I have this model that looks pretty okay. It just looks kind of like flat and it looks like a low poly cart. That's what I'll say. And it's not crazy low poly, but it is low poly. So to do ambient occlusion, all you gotta do is first you have to make sure that you have mental ray installed, which is like an option when you first install Maya. You can like click the install mental ray button or not. If you don't, then you can't do this. You'll have to either install mental ray later, or you'll have to like use some different form of ambient occlusion that I don't know about. Yeah, so all I did was I assigned a new bake set, which is texture, which assigns the model to have like some data on it. Actually, might not need to do that because I tend to override in the and then you do batch bake, click the box. I usually use bake set override, so I don't have to reset the settings for every single object. So for this stuff, whatever thing you're working on will have a different resolution for the overworld. My assets, my like big building assets are all kind of like hero assets, so I give them a bigger texture, which for my game are still pretty small. I only do 1024s. So I set that up. I do a lot of occlusion rays to make it not as like speckly. I use filled texture seams in case in case my UVs are mirrored. That can sometimes like make the seam look really black, and I don't want that, obviously. So we just convert and close, and now it'll probably be like maybe 20 seconds, something like that. I don't know. Be a bit. And as I understand what this does is, well, for every I can't scroll up, but there's like there's that setting that was like occlusion rays. And I think for every direction, I think from every planar direction, or maybe it's around a sphere, it shoots rays at every it shoots equidistant rays, the number of rays that you say around from a circle. And then at that point in the texture it says like, this is white, this is close enough to another face to be shadowed or not. And then it like drops that in the texture. That's the like mental model I have in my head of how this works. And this is taking a long time because I set that the rays, like shoot X number of rays, setting pretty high. The default is half of what I set it to, I think. Okay, cool, it's done. Bam, look how pretty that sucker is. Wow. Look at that. Very nice. Very, very nice. Okay. So like I mentioned before, a cool thing this gives you is that it basically starts your texture for you. Bam, that's what's right here. So what I'll do is I'll bake the image occlusion, I'll create a Photoshop network, I'll send over the incandescence. I'm not going to do this right now because I already made the texture. I can just show you in the texture. Okay, so this like kind of transparent texture is what you get from Photoshop. I'm not sure why it's transparent. Probably gives you some data, but this is what you start with, and that tells you like, and I can see this, so I'm like, oh, I know this is like that like tray thing on the top. I know this is the wood section, so I would paint that, you know, brown, put a texture on it. So this just gives me a really useful base. Yeah, Synthoid. If I watch the meter, it'll never finish. So that's what I start with, and I'll paint over this. Do a base pass. Whoops. Kind of just like monk. Yeah. So I'll just turn all these back on. So yeah, I do like my first version, then I go back to Maya and look at it, and I'm like, okay, this is looking decent. Then I'll take it to Unity so that it looks correct in the lighting. Let's go back to Unity so I can show you there's just one other cool part about this. That's worth sharing. So in Unity you can see I've got like the full physically based rendering setup of like, if you look in the wall of this, you can see the reflection of the environment in it. And that's cube map based, using Unity's built-in reflection probes. So this thing takes, you can see it over here, this thing takes a snapshot in 6 directions from this point, and then like maps that onto a sphere, and then any game objects that use PBR materials in the range of this box, which is, you know, the yellow, I think you should be able to see that, the yellow grid box, will use that as its reflection information. And in the shader it does math to like get which side of that spheroid to use, or which pixel in that spheroid to use as like this pixel. That looks cool. But what you'll see is if I turn that off, Unity, like if you've used Unity, obviously you know the standard shader's got like the PBR, metallic and smoothness on it. Man, that looks so cool. So as you saw, I'm using a texture for this, and same deal as before with the texture. I have, this is my metallic and smoothness information. The metallic is the RGB channel, or maybe just the R channel, but it's like how bright is this pixel, that's like how metallic it is. If it's really bright, it's really metallic, and that's the most of the cart, so that's what most of this white stuff is. And then smoothness is the alpha, and the standard shader lets you choose if you want it to be from the metallic texture or from the albedo. And I just use metallic just because it makes more sense to me to like leave the if I wanted this thing to be transparent for some reason, I could put that in the albedo texture, and that would make more sense. So my metallic uses its alpha, and you can see each of my layers here is like a different part. So this layer is the wood. It's 0 opacity. It's like literally 0, but it's super black, so that it's not at all metallic. This one is the tire, which is like a little bit metallic, a little bit smooth. That one is, I think that's like the surface, like the top of the cart. So that's a little bit less metallic, a little bit less smooth. It might be like plastic surface or whatever. And also the top of that little chunk there. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna show. I just thought that was fun. The ambient occlusion stuff. Okay, with that, thanks for joining me for the stream. I hope that was useful, and I'll put up the video on demand probably in the next couple days. Thanks for hanging out. I gotta open